The first time I learned about the concept of Wu Wei, which is also called inaction, effortless action, actionless action, or not forcing, was in a book. The book was called The Watercourse Way, and I was reading it simultaneously with a very old text called Tao Te Ching, which also discussed Taoism and the idea of Wu Wei. It's been a while since I've last read these books, but I've continued thinking about it every once in a while, and I found that this idea of Wu Wei is actually very helpful for me in my life. So today in this video, I thought it'd be fun to share with you how this idea of non-action or effortless action or not forcing can be applied to our life, what Wu Wei has in common with minimalism, and what we can learn from it. First, I want to quickly say that I am not an expert on any of this stuff, nor do I think of myself as being well-versed in the ancient philosophy of Taoism, where Wu Wei comes from. So this video won't be focusing so much on the origins or the religious or spiritual elements. I'm going to humbly attempt to share with you very practical ways in which I like to use Wu Wei in my life and how it helps me to live a more simple and enjoyable life. So I'm going to try my best, obviously, to not make any mistakes, but please remember that I am not an expert and I'm not claiming to be. Now that we have the annoying disclaimer out of the way, let's begin by looking at this concept of Wu Wei and what it means. Wu Wei is kind of a paradox, and it doesn't really have one clear definition. Some people call it non-action, inaction, actionless action, or not forcing. Basically, it's the idea of not taking action that's not in accordance with the natural way of the universe. It's the idea of living with the natural flow or the current, with the natural grain of life instead of against it. It's like someone who practices Aikido and will use their opponent's strength and momentum to overthrow them and defend themselves, using very little effort or force of their own. Non-action in this sense doesn't mean taking a vacation or being lazy or not making something of yourself, or even just being passive in general, but rather letting go of our rigid attachment to our expectations of how things should be, or working very hard to go against the natural way of things and force things to be different. This doesn't mean that nothing will get done or that nothing will happen in your life. It means living in harmony with the natural way of things, or the Tao. So instead of not acting, it's more like effortless acting, not interfering with the natural way of things. Perhaps it's easier to describe Wu Wei by describing its opposite, someone who's overly stern and who has a strong grasping of ideas which might not always fit their current situation. They say that those who don't bend break, so instead we can try to be soft and malleable like water, or like the bamboo that bends in the wind. This doesn't mean that we cannot shape our life in any way, but like water, we can flow wherever it's naturally easiest and erode away any obstacles over time. In my opinion, Wu Wei can also be seen as an antidote to modern hustle culture, where it's all work hard, play hard, and effort is highly valued, and we are busy for the sake of being busy, regardless of how effective it might be or even how it might influence our well-being. Instead, we could focus on working smarter, not harder. We can try valuing and enjoying the process, being at peace with how things are instead of wanting them to go faster or be better, and connecting to the energy or the heart of things instead of trying to actively influence them. This is where I think there is a bit of overlap between the ideas of minimalism and Wu Wei, and it describes a part of minimalism that I've always had trouble voicing in my videos or finding the right words for. And even for this video, I had trouble finding the right words because it feels more intangible, yet it is also the part of minimalism that I have always connected to the most. For me, minimalism has always had this aspect of choosing what I don't want, or what I don't need, or what I don't want to care about. Modern life makes it so that we should want everything. We should want all the things. And if that means that we have to work very hard in order to afford that lifestyle or maintain it, then that is what we do. We work hard and get a good job that we might not even enjoy that much, but that might allow us to buy a house and have the fancy car and have the fancy clothes and go on the expensive vacations, all while having a family to provide for. Even though having a good job doesn't even necessarily guarantee that you will be able to buy a house nowadays, but that's beside the point. I think minimalism allows us to just be happy and content with how things are now, instead of always wanting more and better and fancier, which would require a lot of effort or forcing on our part. It teaches us to question the things that we are supposed to want and ask ourselves if we even think that that's worth it. And if the answer is yes, then that is great. But if the answer is no, then that means that we can save ourselves a lot of struggles and effort to get something that might not even make us happy. Let's say you want to start an herb garden on your balcony. So you watch a couple YouTube videos about how to start an herb garden and you feel highly motivated. So you go out and buy a bunch of pots and soil and seeds and you plant them. But after a while, you start to get a little impatient because you want them to start growing into all of these lovely herbs. So you try placing the pots on different places in your balcony every day to see where they grow the quickest. Only the plants get confused by the change of sunlight every day and they shrivel and die. Or maybe you decide to give them twice as much fertilizer to help them grow quicker, which also hurts them more than helps them to grow. The plants don't need our excessive effort to do their thing. They can do that by themselves. So sometimes the best thing to do is let nature take its course, or let life do its thing, so that we can put in a small amount of effort, let life do the rest to get the best results. Another example that shows that Wu Wei doesn't always mean being passive is with relationships. Sometimes we might have a relationship with someone and we're very close to them, but over time it changes and we need to struggle to keep it alive, or it even becomes a toxic relationship. And in that example, Wu Wei can teach us to not be passive and just let it simmer, or not put in lots of effort to make it something that it just isn't anymore, but let nature take its course, let the relationship do its natural thing, and if that means that we will let it go in the end, then that is what we do. If it is no longer working for you, of course. Another aspect of Wu Wei that resonates with me greatly is that it helps me to be less of a control freak and a perfectionist. And I can trust that life will know what to do, and it doesn't always require any influence from me. So instead of trying to control life, I can try letting it flow more naturally and just enjoy things as they are happening. I think that sometimes in life, action is the best thing, but sometimes inaction can be even more valuable. It depends on many different factors that together I could call momentum. And by trying to practice Wu Wei and trusting the natural way of things, I have had several great experiences that I probably would not have had otherwise. For example, when I thought that I wanted to do a certain type of job, but in the end decided that it wasn't the best fit for me because it required a lot of effort and forcefulness on my part to make it happen. And when I listened to my heart, I found that this was probably not the best fit for me in my life right now, even though I initially had this expectation that this was what I wanted to do. So by listening to that, instead of pushing through anyway, I naturally came upon another type of job that I enjoyed much better and that instantly felt right and effortless to me. And lastly, I think Wu Wei can teach us to enjoy the process more instead of always placing the most value on the result. And one area of life where this is currently helpful for me is creativity. When talking about art and painting, Taoist thinkers have always placed importance not just on the finished work of art, but on the act of painting itself. It's not about trying to imitate the subject matter as faithfully or as correctly as possible, but to connect with the energy or the heart of it and to enjoy the act of being creative as something philosophical. I noticed that when I want to be creative and make something, I am still very much focused on making something good or making it well. So it's very focused on the result, like the typical overachiever that I am. But I'm learning that there is so much more value in the act of creating than on what the eventual result will look like. And this is helping me so much with not only enjoying the act of creating a lot more, but also with just feeling more free to doodle and try things without them needing to come out right. I think that this idea of Wu Wei can improve our relationship with the world and with ourselves. I think that the art of not forcing or the art of letting things unfold doesn't necessarily make us passive, but it can help us to improve how we do things, learning to go with the current and through that lead to better results that require less effort on our part. The essence of Taoism is living in harmony with the Wei or Tao. And I've always liked that. I find it very comforting somehow because it invites more spontaneity and play and harmony and less rigidity and even less fear. I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I know this video was a little bit different from what I usually do, and that's just because I felt really inspired to write about it and to make a video about it finally, because I've been wanting to do it for a while. Also just because of how well I think Wu Wei can match with minimalism. If you'd like more from me, then you can always subscribe to the channel for videos about living a simpler, happier and calmer life. And a very special thank you to my patrons for supporting the channel and helping me make these videos. You can always join us on Patreon to get exclusive videos and also behind the scenes content of my life. Right here is a video about the value of silence, and right there is a video about minimalism and impermanence. As always, questions, comments, conversations down below. Have a lovely day, and I will see you again next week with a new video about intentional living. Bye bye!